Hello and welcome to the Central Television. I am Lekan, Onabanjo. The top stories at this hour. Nigerian government addresses concerns over electricity tariff hike. Plateau State Speaker swears in 9 out of 16 APC lawmakers. Somalia regions reject order to shut Ethiopia missions. Details to come your way shortly. We begin in West Africa, where the Federal Ministry of Power in Nigeria has appealed to residents in the country to cooperate with the government on the recent increase in electricity tariff for customers under the Band A classification. Speaking at a press conference in Abuja on Friday, the Minister of Power, Abike Dabiri-Erewa, who described the policy as necessary pains, explained that the policy is not to aggravate the hardship being experienced by residents. The Nigerian Electricity Regulatory Commission says the newly approved tariff is expected to reduce subsidy for the 2024 fiscal year by about 1.14 trillion naira. The Commission emphasized customers under the classification who receive 20 hours of electricity supply daily will pay 225 naira per kilowatt, starting from April 3, up from 66 naira. Similarly, Vice Chairman NERC Musliu Oseni said the new tariff would go a long way to provide a reliable power supply to drive the country's economy.
Aware of the current hardships that citizens are passing through based on some tough decisions, but necessary decisions that government has taken in the recent past about removal of fuel subsidy, about harmonization of the dual exchange rates. We know that this has led to a lot of things. The inflation rate is there. The devaluation of the naira is there. And the increase in prices of goods and services. These are enough hardships that government is not ready to aggravate at any rate. We are all aware of this. So government will not deliberately come up with a policy to worsen an already bad situation that we are struggling to come out of, which I believe they are necessary pains if you are targeting some gains in this sector. I believe that when a system or a structure is passing through repair, is passing through transformation, is passing through revamping, it does not necessarily mean a complete disappearance of the existing pain. In fact, in some cases, it might mean aggravation of the pain in the short time for us to achieve a permanent gain.
And now to discuss this, I am joined by the Managing Director, IDFON Power Generating Engineering Consultants, that is Tinubu Onabanjo, and he will be talking to us more about this. Tinubu Onabanjo, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you very much.
So, despite what Nigerians are going through, why do you think the increase in tariff is something that the Nigerian government should be considering as of now?
Thank you very much for that question. The federal government of Nigeria, as we have just heard from the Honorable Minister of Power, has taken a decision to reduce subsidy. But to ensure that this subsidy removal, partial subsidy removal, I must say, does not have significant debilitating and devastating impact on what is already a bad situation, making it worse. Therefore, it is important to understand why this step was necessary, what has led to the step, and thus we will be able to put mitigating measures to make sure that it does not leave Nigerian consumers worse off. So why did this happen? Over 2 trillion naira will be used this year to subsidize electricity tariffs. And the reason why subsidy is there is the same reason for which subsidy is there for the oil sector that was removed earlier on. So electricity is supplied through the distribution companies to Nigerians, but the aggregate technical collection and commercial losses, which we call the ATC and C losses, are humongous. They're so huge. They are 50% in value, which means for every 1 megawatt of electricity that is sent to DISCOs, only 50% comes back. So only 4.5 megawatt comes back. What this means is a very huge loss. It's unbelievable, it's unfathomable, and it is actually due to inefficiencies. Government has been subsidizing these inefficiencies, but can no longer go on. But if you remember the Pareto principle, where or the 80 to 20 principle, 20% of the people will provide the output that will ameliorate or even provide support for the rest of the system. So by application of that, what has been done is to look for customers who are on what we call the band A feeders. And these customers are the eyebrow feeders. They are manufacturing industries. They are people who consume high volume of energy. They have the wherewithal to pay, not all of them,
okay,
but majority. Now, what needs to be done is to ensure that all the other customers are not made worse off by this strategy. And this requires technical capacity, competence, and some ability. Thank you.
Okay, so in all that you've said, for the ordinary Nigerian, they'll be looking at if this new policy of government would lead to an improved power sector and power supply to businesses and households, and of course to boost the economy. Do you think that this policy will help achieve this for the Nigerian citizens?
If well implemented, and by that I mean if competence and meritocracy is celebrated, it is very easy to implement this concept, and I will tell you how. So before yesterday, before this order became law on the 3rd of April, Nigeria has an installed capacity of generation of up to 13,000 megawatts. I am not saying that the 13,000 megawatt is fully available, but a stress test was conducted last year in Nigeria. And this stress test is to demonstrate how much of this capacity can be available if we need them today. Now, the amount of power that is getting to consumers today is about 3,500. So look at those two numbers, 3,500 from 13,000. You have a gap. You have about 9,500 or even more that can be given to other people. So all that will be required is to make sure that the 3,500 that everyone has been sharing from band A to E is now given to bands B to E, the rest of us who are not on band A feeders. So it means the rest of us on band B to E will have even increased amount of power if this is implemented properly. So that rather than having 3,500 for consumers, we should be moving steadily to 5,000 to 7,000 megawatts, which will be the difference that is being given to those who can pay for the premium power, and then the power sector will continue to grow and have liquidity. This can only happen if those who are in charge of the implementation know exactly how we do feeder reconfiguration, network monitoring, not ordinary monitoring. You've got to monitor up to the consumers, and there are strategies for doing this so that Nigerians will not be worse off from this policy.
Before I let you go, does it mean that the handlers of the power sector and its value chain may not be competent enough to understand the mechanism or how it works? Because you keep hammering on the issue of if it is implemented properly. So is there a challenge as regards implementation and the personnel handling it that we may need to look into to optimize that area if we are hoping to achieve more in this new change and, of course, increase the power supply, of course, to the people?
Yeah, power system everywhere in the world is highly technical. So, and you need data to be able to run a power system. As of now, we don't have adequate data that is verifiable, transparent, and reliable. As a result, it is not easy to stay at one point and look at what is happening all over the world. So all over the country, rather. So what needs to be done is not only to look at feeder metering, which is what is obtainable today. There is need to peruse or look into the remote ends of the feeders that goes to the customers. Of course, Nigeria is blessed with competent engineers and competent people in charge of the power system, but implementation has always been the problem historically, and this has to do with thinking through things and making sure we have the square pegs and square holes in the right places.
Okay, Onabanjo, thank you so much for talking to us.
You're welcome.
Now, the Speaker of the Plateau State House of Assembly, Gabriel Dewan, has sworn in 9 new members into the Assembly. While speaking with journalists after the plenary session, the Speaker said the development became necessary after he received a communication that the sworn-in members had fulfilled what he referred to as necessary requirements. News Central's Chinyere Anyaogu reports.
Early Friday morning at about 7 o'clock, the Plateau State House of Assembly members had an emergency plenary. This is at least 2 hours earlier than the usual time the Assembly reconvenes. The reason for this is simple: to swear in 8 out of the 16 APC members and 1 Labour Party member that were declared by the Court of Appeal to have won their elections into the state legislature. Even with this, 7 seats remain vacant, despite the judgment of the Appellate Court that sealed every contest to the position.
This is a Plateau State House of Assembly. There are procedures. When court declares a member, that doesn't mean that you automatically qualify to be sworn in. There are other processes to be followed. Maybe the forwarding of their certificate of return, the CTC copy of the judgment, and so on. So far, so good. What I can say for now is that maybe the other ones will follow suit, as the case may be.
Governor Caleb Mutfwang was on hand at the Government House to receive the new members shortly after their swearing in, as led by the Speaker and his new deputy, Madaki Ajiji, who represents Jos East constituency.
We will collaborate with the House of Assembly. There are many things that need to be put right in our state, and it can only be done with an active, productive legislative house. And so we're going to ensure that we facilitate your training, your equipping, and your capacity to enhance your capacity to make laws for the good governance of Plateau State.
State chairman of the APC seems to be uncomfortable with this development when he briefed journalists.
We cannot continue at every point in time to bring negative news for Plateau. It is so disgraceful that what has happened today is disgraceful to Plateau, it's disgraceful to Nigeria, it's disgraceful to democracy. It is quite unfortunate that people who have gone to school, people who call themselves learned, are turning the law upside down. This is so unfortunate. We as a party, we take exception to what our members have done.
The House of Assembly has embarked on a 2-week recess to reconvene after the Eid al-Fitr holiday. In Jos for News Central, Chinyere Anyaogu.
We talk security. 2 communities, Agojeju Odo and Abeju Kolo in Omala local government area of Kogi State, northern Nigeria, have been invaded by gunmen. No fewer than 19 people have been killed, while yet to be ascertained number of houses have been razed. Eyewitnesses in Lokoja on Friday said that the incident happened on Thursday when the gunmen mobilized in what he described as a reprisal and invaded the two communities, inflicting maximum damages. The bandits, who were having a running battle with Agato militia in Benue State, had extended their onslaught to Agojejodo, Ajopachi, Odo, Bagaji and its environs, destroying their farm produce. Now, members of the Islamic Movement of Nigeria, also known as Shiites, earlier today took to the streets of Abuja in protest over the ongoing war between Israel and Palestine. The group said they want Nigeria's government to throw its weight behind the Palestine and end further attacks on women and children in Gaza. They also condemned U.S. support for Israel, saying they are supporting the killing of innocent women and children.
Muslim, it is necessary for us to support our Muslim. It is necessary for us to support our Muslim people and gather host Israel killing us innocent. We are protesting to support Palestine in Nigeria under the leadership of Sheikh Ibrahim Yaqub al-Zakzaki. And we thank Almighty God. We have already finished it. We thank Almighty God for this incredible achievement of completing this protest in this Abuja. And today is the International Police Day. Every country and every city over the entire world are protesting for supporting Palestine. And in Nigeria, we are already finished everywhere successfully. And we are telling Nigerian government to support Palestine. It is necessary for us, and we are Muslim. We have the power to support Palestine anywhere, wherever we are. Even if you are not Muslim, it is necessary for us, because the Palestinians are human beings. They are killing children and they are killing women innocently without any committing any offense. Us telling the entire world to say every Friday on the last Ramadan, it is the day of Quds Day, and every Muslim should come to Palestine to support Palestine, because Palestinians are Muslim. It is necessary for every Muslim to support Palestine. Every Muslim, even if you are not Muslim, even if you are a human being, you know the killing innocent people, killing children and women, killing in hospital, killing in school, anywhere ever in the Gaza already are killing.
Earlier on, we talked about the swearing-in of 9 new members in Jos Plateau State's House of Assembly by the Plateau House of Assembly Speaker, that is Gabriel Dewan. And so we have him right here on the news, and he will be talking to us more about this. Speaker, Honorable Speaker, it's nice to have you around. Thank you so much for joining us.
My pleasure. Good evening.
So tell us about this swearing-in. Some people seem to be aggrieved by your move. Some are in support while others are not. Can you please shed light on why some people might have reservation for what you did in Plateau State House of Assembly?
Well, first, I want to clear a notion. When you said about what I did, it makes it look like it's more of a personal affair. We are talking about Plateau State House of Assembly here. It's not my father's house, neither is my personal entity. This an independent arm of government, a legitimate arm of government that has its own laid down procedures that operates. What happens today is not new or is not strange. As you are all aware, as all Nigerians are aware, sometimes in November, there were the court verdict of appeal court declaring 16 new members elect from the APC and Labour Party, sacking the 16 members of PDP. And as a speaker, that verdict came while we were on recess. And as of then, there were no any communication or any a clear order for me mandating me to swear in the members. All the insinuation going around the media all this while that I refused to swear in the members or I disobey court, it was just an insinuation of political antagonists and those who want to get political capital out of it. I was ready to swear in any members because it's not part of my wish to have a vacant seat in the assembly. Myself and the other 7 members, the 8 members that were in the assembly, were operating and carrying out our legislative duties perfectly. Until yesterday, when I was communicated that there are about 9 members who have submitted their documents, who have passed through the documentations, because when you have been declared as member-elect by the court, that doesn't mean that you will just be sworn in. There were different other legislative processes that you have to follow. And when all those processes are followed, why not? When I was communicated that 9 members have meet up the requirement, the prerequisite requirement to be members, to be sworn in as a speaker,
I call my other members and I come in and I perform the swearing in successfully. And that is all what happened. There's nothing more.
So does this also include the appointment of one of the members as the Deputy Speaker of the Assembly? Is that also ratified by members?
Before now, the Deputy Speaker, that is my deputy, Right Honorable Danton Timothy, was removed by appellate court sometimes November. Since then, there has not been election to replace him. So it was today that the Assembly deemed it fit to conduct an election. It was an election, not an appointment. They don't appoint Deputy Speaker. It was an election. A member nominated Right Honorable Ajijima, the member representing Just East, and another member second, and there was no any further nomination. And according to the rules proceeding of the House, when there is no any further nomination, then automatically the person that has been nominated and duly second automatically become the Deputy Speaker. And that's what happened. Even though the Right Honorable Deputy Speaker is not among the new sworn-in members, he is among the existing 8 members that we have been in the Assembly together, and he has been entrusted by the other members who deem it fit that he is fit in to deputize me to lead the Assembly as a Deputy Speaker, and then nominated and seconded, and I sworn in him as a Deputy Speaker. And that's what happened. There's nothing more.
So then I'd like to also understand, what is the position of the Supreme Court in the sacking of the 16 PDP lawmakers? And of course, would you say that what you did is in compliance with the law? Not what you did invariably, but then what you and the members of the House did in swearing in these members is actually in consonance with the law?
Well, God bless you. First, you actually wanted making mistake, so what I did, but God bless you, corrected yourself by saying what we did, because I like using the word we. Because when you say what I did, you are personalizing it to me as an individual. And I want to remind you that the Plateau State Assembly is not an individual entity. It's an institution. So it's about the Assembly entirely. Now, what we did, as I said, you see, I comply with the judgment that has been presented. Remember, I tell you, it is not my duty as a speaker to receive communications to the Assembly. There are technocrats, there are people who are responsible for receiving communications, which I was communicated appropriately that there are communications from a court of appeal with a CTC copy alongside with certificate of returns of members elect, mandating me to swear them in. As a speaker, what did I do? I have no objection to that. I swear them in. And in the respect of the other members, as I'm talking to you, if it is tomorrow, next tomorrow, if the body, the other arm of the legislation responsible for documentations and communications still communicate me back that these people have met up all the requirements and they are ready, I'll swear them in. I have no reservation. But as far as I'm concerned, the 9 members that was presented to me are the one I sworn in. There was no any member that was presented to me I refused to sworn in. So I, as a lawmaker, I'm not a law interpreter. For me to say whether what I did is in consonance with the law or not, that is not my issue now. The issue in the Supreme Court and the Appeal Court and others are issues that need for interpretation, which is a continual process. If at any given point in time, I am aware that there is a matter in the Supreme Court, the PDP members are challenging their removal, which I don't have anything to say. By the time when the Supreme Court determined that they were removed illegally or anything, that they have to be returned back, as a law-abiding speaker, I will comply. So I have to comply with the existing law that have been served to me, and that's what I just did today.
Okay. Speaker, Plateau State House of Assembly, Gabriel Dawan, thank you so much for sharing your thoughts with us.
Thank you, my brother.
You're welcome. We're now going on a short break on the news. We'll be back with more stories. Don't go away. Many thanks for staying with us. Now, fresh crisis is brewing in the People's Democratic Party following the list of caretaker committee members it recently published to run the affairs of some states and local government areas. It was gathered that the list for Rivers State was particularly generating controversies and deepening the already existing political crisis between the camps of the Minister of the Federal Capital Territory, Abuja, Nyesom Wike, and the state governor, Siminalayi Fubara. Fubara on Thursday fumed over the list, describing it as fake and insisting that it fell short of the agreement the PDP governors had with the party's National Working Committee. Fubara insisted that Rivers would abide by the decision that the executive officers whose tenures had expired in March should remain in their various capacities for the 3 months extension period approved by the NWC elapses to enable the conduct of fresh congresses. And now to discuss this, I'm joined by Good Governance Advocate and Executive Director of the Extra Step Initiative, Eugene Abels. Eugene Abels, it's nice to have you around.
Thank you for having me.
So we see that Governor Fubara said the caretaker committee list is fake, insisting that it fell short of the agreement the PDP governors had with the party's National Working Committee. I'd like to find out who pretended over the list in the first place, and why is the governor averse to that list?
So can you take that question again?
So I said I'd like to be sure who pretended over the list, and why is it that the governor has reservation over the list?
Okay, whoever pretended with that over that list obviously did not carry the governor along, and we know that after the Third Republic and the Fourth Republic, the governors or the chief executives of states, local government, and at the federal level are lead members of their parties, and nothing is done in their domain except they are carried along. And so in this instance, the man who is supposed to be the leader of the party in Rivers State has openly said that he's not aware of that list, and it goes contrary to the agreements they had as governors, as members of the PDP, governors of the PDP, because he went further to state that there was no need for such a list or such a distortion or such inclusion, because everybody was looking forward to when the executive and the National Working Committee comes together to meet in a few days' time.
So when we have issues like this, does this suggest that the PDP in Rivers State has been infiltrated? Probably there's a crack, and therefore there is a faction that's loyal to the FCT minister against the governor?
Normally, the last leader of the party is the former governor of the state, who obviously has publicly stated that he does not want to lose his structure. So what's happening? It's not surprising. I'm not accusing him that he's responsible for it, but you should expect this kind of shenanigans, political shenanigans, to happen. It's normal. But when the National Working Committee meets, all of this will be straightened out. If you notice, in the APC, not long ago, a couple of weeks back, the national chairman appointed 6 governors to man the 6 geopolitical zones. They did that deliberately to create order, so that nothing happens. If there are appointments, positions that are available, you need to clear with the governor that's in charge of that zone. So I don't think it will be different from the PDP. These are initial diagrams. When the national PDP has a lot to sort out, this will be the list of their problems. But the governor could have kept quiet, but he needed to speak out so that his followers would not think that they're losing control of the party.
Well, you're an advocate of good governance, and the governor has come out to say or suggest that this fake list may involve wasteful lobbying and needless expenditure. So from where you stand, do you think it could have a negative impact on finances? Of course, there's power struggle as you see it in Rivers State, but then could it affect governance and finances of the state government?
Politics is big time business, and particularly when it is played where you have weak institutions, weak public institutions, who do not act for political reasons. Because a lot of politics has taken over the administration, the management of Nigeria. A lot of resources are expended for things to be done for you, but not because of you. I'll give an example. We are all witnesses to the fact that when former President Donald Trump left the White House, 1 or 2 things were erroneously taken out of the White House. They didn't wait for the sitting president to ask for those things to be returned. The agencies responsible immediately went for those things. When documents were found to be in a wrong place, nobody looked at anybody's face. Those things they went for them, because those institutions are strong and are doing the things they are supposed to do. But in our climate, you need to be in the good books of the power centers, and also the coercive agencies of government. If they act properly and timely without waiting for prompt, most of these things will end. But you cannot be holier than the Pope. Where we find ourselves today, you need a lot of resources, time and money is expended for you to make things to work in your favor, whether you're in or out of office.
Okay. Eugene Bells, it was nice talking to you. Thank you so much for your time.
You're welcome. Thanks for having me.
Moving on now, fuel scarcity has resurfaced across Nigeria's commercial capital as marketers claimed that the depots now have a limited supply. Experts blame the situation on the volatility of the naira, and News Central's Bettina Ngbeli tells us more.
Barely a week into the second quarter of the year, Lagosians are faced with yet another bout of fuel scarcity, a situation that citizens are not too pleased about.
They let the money on fuel. All the filling stations now, they had the information. They don't have the fuel. They didn't sell it. They say fuel is scarce, or they have the fuel inside the tanker. They don't want to sell it because they don't want to sell at no price.
I've been here for more an hour. Then what we hear about the fuel, where is scarce now? They say Dangote don't start their refinery, and these people now, Nigerians, the fuel where they carry can't give us for Nigeria. They say they never said their fuel before everything they come out. Now the thing where would they hear?
Speaking to experts about the recent development, Bola Oloyede, an energy expert, had this to say.
There were issues around pricing by the petroleum transporters at some point. I think that was part of what caused one of the February scarcity. There are also issues around supply. You mentioned the fact that NNPC had become the sole importer again. And the reason is clear. The reason is because of the instability of the volatility of the currency.
There were reports that the ex-depot price crashed from 640 naira per litre to 630 naira per litre for independent marketers, while NNPC Limited sold at 570 naira per litre. However, Olufemi Shoneye, Chief Corporate Communications Officer of the NNPC Limited, on Wednesday, dismissed reports that there is a downward adjustment of price on petrol and diesel at its retail stations nationwide. With the current economic hardship that citizens are currently struggling to deal with, as well as epileptic power supply coupled with inflation of foodstuff, the addition of fuel scarcity may just be a little too much. All at the helm of power will do well to nip this issue in the bud before it becomes much more of a problem. In Lagos, for News Central, Bettina Ngbeli.
The news will continue in a short while. Do stay with us. We now tell you that a group known as the Lagos Assembly of Labour Veterans and Trade Unionists has expressed its displeasure with the leadership of the Labour Union following the latter's inability to call the government to order concerning the current economic hardship in the country. The group has also complained about the current leadership issues in the Labour Party. Bringing both Labour Union and Labour Party together, the group has called for the immediate resignation of both Julius Abure of the Labour Party and Joe Ajaero of the Nigeria Labour Congress.
The idea of holding this press conference will surely come to you as a foregone conclusion. It is even more so against the painful background that at the core of this profound crisis is the endless tussle for the control of the party going on between the party's embattled chairman, Barrister Julius Abure, and the president of the Nigerian Labour Congress, Comrade Joe Ajaero. Given the overwhelming evidence assiduously marshaled and the arrays of well-established cases of fraternal recklessness brought forward by the treasurer of the party against the party's chairman, and in full cognizance of the woeful failure Comrade Joe Ajero to rise to the challenge demanded by his office, thereby scoring below average in leadership performance. We, the Assembly of Labor Veterans and Trade Unionists, strongly lend our voice to the open calls for both Barrister Julius Abure and Comrade Joe Ajero to resign forthwith.
And now coming up on the news. Somalia regions reject order to shut Ethiopian missions. We'll bring you details after this short timeout. Don't go away. The news continues in West Africa, where the Liberian government says it has discovered over 40,000 illegal civil servants in its system. The Director General of the Civil Service Agency, Josiah Jokai, revealed that the details of the civil servants were entered incorrectly or not at all into the Personnel Action Notice called PEN. The PEN process is a mandatory requirement for employment. There are at least 70,000 civil servants in Liberia, and more than 50% are currently illegal because they did not do the PEN process. Jokai said the process comprises the full details of individuals who are entered onto the government employment roster after completing evaluation and credential checks. In East Africa, the Somali regions of Somaliland and Puntland have rejected an order by the federal government to close Ethiopian diplomatic missions on their soil as tensions spiral in the Horn of Africa. Somalia told the Ethiopian ambassador to leave the country within 72 hours and recalled its own envoy to Addis Ababa, accusing Ethiopia of interfering in its internal affairs. It also ordered the shutdown of Ethiopia's consulates in the breakaway region of Somaliland and the semi-autonomous state of Puntland within 7 days. Somalia is fiercely at odds with Ethiopia over a deal signed by Addis Ababa with Somaliland in January, giving the landlocked country long-desired access to the sea, branding it illegal and a violation of its sovereignty. Talking business now, navigating Nigeria's business landscape brings challenges and opportunities, and despite potential for growth and profitability, inflationary pressures and fluctuating consumer purchasing power impact operations. Oluwatosin Olasende, CEO of Money Africa, shared insights on moving from ideation to reality on the Business Edge show.
Every 5 startups do not make it. They don't make it past the first 5 years. They die off. But you could be the 2 out of every 5. Some say 4 out of every 5 don't make it. You could be the 1 out of every 5. So now what do we do? Number one, we want to do some research. We want to do some research, learn about the business, how does it work, things like that. Speak to people that are currently doing that business, right? Read online if there's any curated article about it that goes into detail. Now, once you've done that, the next thing you want to do is you want to test a sample. By testing a sample, something that is a very small size, and this is now taking steps, right? So you want to then take a step and test that.
Also, investing can often appear overwhelming and intricate with its array of unfamiliar jargons and the ever-changing nature of the market. Nevertheless, it serves as a crucial foundation for attaining financial autonomy and fostering wealth creation. By acquainting yourself with the fundamental principles of investing, you can enhance your self-assurance and seize command of your financial destiny. Oluwaseun Magrela, Head of Investment Management and Research at STL Asset Management, recently made an appearance on the Business Edge show where he provided valuable insights into distinguishing between investing and saving.
While investing is using your funds to acquire assets that have the potentials to grow and give you higher returns in future. So potential assets like stocks, like bonds, like mutual funds, and other financial instruments, but it comes with some level of risk depending on the asset and depending on the investment horizon.
sports, several members of the triumphant Nigerian boxing team from the recently concluded 13th African Games in Ghana are experiencing frustration over the delay in receiving their allowances, deeming it unacceptable. Despite making history with 8 gold and 2 silver medals, some boxers remain unpaid nearly 2 weeks after the Games concluded. This delay contradicts assurances from Sports Minister John Eno, who pledged prompt payment of allowances. Initially, the blame was placed on Easter holidays impeding central bank documentation completion. However, subsequent investigations suggest that some athletes have received payment, aggravating concerns among those still awaiting compensation. We also tell you that the Nigeria Women Football League has announced the postponement of match weeks 13 and 14 games to April 17 and April 24 in light of the upcoming Eid al-Fitr celebration marking the end of Ramadan. Chief Operating Officer Modupe Shabi explained that the rescheduling was necessary at match week 13, initially planned for April 10, coincides with the Eid al-Fitr celebration. Shabi expressed gratitude to all clubs, stakeholders and fans for their cooperation and understanding, emphasizing the league's commitment to accommodating religious holidays to ensure the participation of players, officials and fans in significant events. Now, Muhammad Ali's iconic white satin Everlast trunks worn during his legendary Thriller in Manila fight in 1975 are poised to shatter auction records at Sotheby's in New York, with bids reaching $3.8 million in an ongoing online auction. Experts anticipate the trunks could fetch as much as $6 million, becoming the most expensive item of Ali memorabilia ever sold. The historic bout against Joe Frazier, held in scorching 49 degrees Celsius, is hailed as one of the most brutal in boxing history. Ali emerged victorious after the referee halted the fight in the 14th round, retaining his 3 heavyweights championship belts. The auction, alongside other sports memorabilia, signifies the growing interest in historic sporting items, with items from NBA star Victor Wembanyama also on sale. And that's all at this hour, but before we go, we take a look at some of our top stories. Nigerian government has addressed concerns over electricity tariff hike. Plateau Speaker has sworn in 9 out of 16 APC lawmakers. We also told you that Somalia regions have rejected order to shut Ethiopian missions. Don't forget to send your eyewitness report to the WhatsApp number and email on your screen. You can do well to follow us on social media. We are at News Central TV. And you can also watch News Central live on DSTV channel 422, Star Times channel 274, Avo TV and YouTube. Many thanks for watching. I am Lekan Onabanjo.